Hey guys, this is a recipe that I make at my house often. Again, it uses a lot of vegetables that I usually have prepped in my fridge. It's super easy. It's also great to have prepped in advance and then just kind of heat up for meals. It's super versatile. I love it. Depending on what vegetables you have in your fridge, you can change it, but this is just a basic way that I'll do this stir fry. And then from there, you can just alter it depending on what's in there. So this time I have my cauliflower and carrots, which I have in my fridge a lot, as you guys know. I have some prepped herbs over here. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll also have broccoli prepped in my fridge. I just prep it exactly how the cauliflower is done. The one thing about broccoli is I feel like a lot of people throw the stalk away, but you can actually use the stalk. And I'm gonna show you how to cut it because it's really easy. So what I do is I'll cut the ends off, but what I'll do is I'll cut off these little hard, like nubby branch parts because the outside of the stalk is pretty tough. So you want to cut off some of those ridges and then you just peel it like a carrot. And it's really great. It cooks super quickly and the flavor is actually like really delicate and beautiful. I love the broccoli stalk. But a lot of people throw this away and it's great because it's so nutritious and it adds a really nice flavor and just like consistency to the dish, which is very cool. So again, just cut off the little they just look like tree stumps, you know what I mean? You want to kind of cut those off. And the end here where you cut off the florets, you just kind of want to cut those off because then you want to pair it like a carrot. And if a lot of the stalk is still on there, it's just too hard. So if you get that off, it's a lot easier. So now you just pair it like a carrot. And as you can tell when you pair it, you want to pair it until you have that beautiful light green color and this stalk is off of it. So you got to get a nice firm grip on it because the stalk is a little tough. It doesn't peel as easily as a carrot. So I'll get it just like that. See, it's that beautiful light green color. And then I'll just chop it into little pieces and I'll throw it in the stir fry. I love this stuff. Okay, so let me get the other one done and then we'll throw all this stuff in a pan. I always try to use as much of the vegetable as I can, especially because this is all really great organic stuff. So it's just good to know that you can still, use this and not throw it out, which is great. So the first thing you want to do when you're making your stir fry, again, you guys know I'm obsessed with Bragg's amino acids and my Umi plum vinegar. I use these in a lot of stuff that I cook. So one thing is when I'm making a stir fry, instead of olive oil, which I cook with a lot, for this, I actually use organic toasted sesame oil. I love this stuff. It gives it such a nutty, rich flavor. And it kind of goes better with this kind of flavor profile. So toasted sesame oil. I actually use this all the time. So this is empty. So I'm just using the last 2 teaspoons. One thing about the toasted sesame oil is it's a really strong flavor. So you actually don't need that much. 1 clove of chopped garlic, a chopped shallot, however you want to say it. So with this garlic and the shallot cooking, I'll add in a little bit of chicken broth. Okay, so that is a really great base. We have our garlic, our shallot, chicken broth. I'm going to add some of the Bragg's. So I basically just get a little base of flavor going and get the garlic and the shallot kind of cooked down a little bit so they start to get a little bit sweeter. Another thing I'll do is a lot of people I think are scared to cook with ginger. I love ginger. What I'll do with something like this is a lot of times I use it for flavor and then I pull it out of the dish. So what I'll do is, I'm going to turn that down to a simmer now so it's nice and all the flavors are simmering together. So what I'll do is I'll cut a chunk of the skin off. A really coarse, this does not have to be beautiful because it's literally just for flavor. So I'll even leave a lot of the skin on, but I'll just cut it in half into 2 big chunks and I'll chuck this into the stir fry just for flavor. And then after I cook everything, I toss it. But it adds such a beautiful flavor to it. I just love it. So now, much like the earlier chicken soup recipe, we're just gonna start throwing in the prepped vegetables one at a time. The carrots probably take the longest, so I'm gonna throw those in first. Then what I'll probably do is the broccoli, then the cauliflower. Our rice and chicken are already cooked, so we just toss those in at the end. And I always put Italian flat leaf parsley into mostly everything, so we'll probably chuck some of this in there. Carrots. So for a stir fry, that's a pretty shape, right? So let's do that. Okay, great. So I'm going to throw in the carrots. Also, you know, depending on how many people you're cooking for, that'll also change how many vegetables you're putting in there. But this is just, you know, I'll show you the basic amount that I usually do. So now let's get the broccoli in there. So again, you know, you want to cut these down. I always love when I'm cooking and I have leftover for a whole other meal. That's always very exciting. Broccoli. Okay, let those cook. And now let's get the cauliflower ready. The broccoli stalk cooks really quickly, so I usually put this in at the end. Okay, looking good. Okay, so now we're gonna add the cauliflower. Give it a little stir. That's looking great. And then I'll just cover it with the lid so it all starts cooking in there. So the next thing is we have our broccoli stalk. So what I'll do for something like this is I'll just cut it into like a little strip. And again, these cook really quickly. Okay, and then we'll just let all the vegetables just kind of cook for a little bit. That's looking great. So a lot of times what I'll do is while the vegetables are cooking, I'll put in a little bit more Bragg's and a little bit more umi, just because I love those flavors so much. Great, and another little few dashes of the umi. This is also great because they both take the place of, they have such a nice like kind of salty-ish flavor. So when I'm using these a lot of times, I won't even really salt the dish too much. So just be careful when you're using this to taste your dish before you add salt. I personally like my cauliflower to have a little more like oomph to it, like a little more al dente to it, but everyone's different. I personally like that. So this is perfectly cooked for my palate. So now what I'll do is, we already have our rice prepped, right? And our chicken that we pulled from the broth. This is another great recipe to be able to use that same beautiful organic chicken. So what I'll do is, because this has been hanging out in my fridge, we're gonna heat it up by just chopping it. Okay, so we're gonna throw the chicken in. Now, we're gonna throw in some of our rice. And now we're just gonna mix it all up and heat it all up. So again, earlier, remember I just used the ginger for flavor. So now what I'll do is I'll pull out the ginger pieces. Just gotta find them because you don't want to chomp into those. Those are just for flavor for this dish. And then again, I always love adding fresh herbs. So parsley, flat leaf parsley is a great versatile herb. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of that in. And now we're ready to go. So our stir fry is cooked. Okay, cool. So this is a tool that I love at home, especially for a dish like this. So that is an example of the stir fry that we just made with all of your prepped foods in the fridge, and the rest I'll just put into a storage container. So I have it for another meal. And also, depending on how many people are cooking for, all you have to do is just use more vegetables or less vegetables, more chicken, more rice, whatever. I mean, all these things are already prepped in your fridge, so just use however much you want, depending how much you want prepped and how many people, you know, it's great. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you know whenever I put up a new video. Thanks, guys.